Hey everybody, Cowboy Bob, welcome back. In this video my mic is not working, so I'm going to do a voiceover. And what I've got here is the big golden boy, and we're going to do a tarp drill. And I think this is a great exercise for you to do if you feel like you're qualified to do it. If you're not qualified, then perhaps you could get a trainer to do it for you or with you. But I think it's a great exercise because it helps desensitize your horse to unexpected events when you're riding, whether you're on the trail or you're pleasure riding in the arena, wherever you might be. Something comes up and it spooks them. That's when accidents can happen. So if we can desensitize them to unexpected things or uncomfortable things, then that's really helps them be safer when you're riding. So at this point, the big golden boy has not done the tarp drill before. This is his first time, and he's a little nervous. So as always, I'm going to take what he gives me. If he balks, if he were to jump around, then we would slow down and back up. If he goes quickly, then that's fine. But whatever he gives me, that's what we'll start with. So at this point, I'm just asking him to approach the tarp. I'm not asking him to step on it. I'm stepping on it and making a little noise, but I'm not going to ask him to cross it yet. I just really want him to be comfortable. And sometimes they'll sniff it, and that's fine. In fact, a lot of times they do. And at this point, a lot of times, you can see he's a little bit nervous. A lot of times what they'll do here is they'll pull back, or they'll dance from side to side. If he dances on one side or the other, I don't worry about that too much. We just reset and do it again. If he were to pull back, I would want to try to hold on to the rope and block him from that. I don't want him to think that he can pull back and get out of it. I want to discourage pulling back. Partially because it's not productive, and partially because there's a safety factor. Okay, so now I'm bringing him to, this is a rectangle tarp. And so I brought him to the narrow axis of the tarp. I'm going to ask him to cross the narrow side. It's easier for him. And I'm going to let him approach and take what he gives me. Now you can see he went right across. He was nervous, but he went across. And so that's great. But if he didn't, we would just slow down and let him go on horse time. We're not trying to win a race. We're just taking whatever time he needs to do this safely. So at this point, I can get him across without too much effort, but he's still nervous. So the drill is wash, rinse, and repeat. I want to keep bringing him across until he can do it without me having to really encourage him, and he has a relaxed posture. His head's relaxed, his ears are good, and so on. So once he can do it across the narrow side, I want to bring him down the long axis of the tarp. Now for him, this is just like starting over. He's like, this doesn't look the same, and I'm back to being nervous. I'm not really sure about this. So we're going to slow way down and let him go over this tarp the long way at his speed. So I'm not going to let him out of it, but I am going to let him take the time he needs to think about it and move forward. Okay, so he's doing it. He's not digging it. Look at his back feet. he's picking up his back feet like, ew, yuck. And so he's still a little bit nervous. So we're just going to keep doing this again. Wash, rinse, and repeat until he can go down that long axis of the tarp and be comfortable. Now, if your tarp is square, maybe you could fold it in half and make a narrow side and a long side. So now we just keep doing this until he can get comfortable with it. And of course, ultimately, the goal is to be able to do it with me on his back, because that's really the point, right? I want to make him a safer, more confident horse when I'm riding him, be it on the trail or in the arena. So that's really, I want to be able to get to that point if I can. Now here, the next step is I want to pick it up and let him sniff it. Now you can see he's very nervous about this, so I'm going to be very cautious. And you can see he pulled back and he's dancing off to the side, so that's fine. I'm going to hold the rope so that he can't pull his way out of it. but I'm not going to worry about him dancing off to the side. I'm just going to reset. I'm going to drop the tarp, and we're just going to reset and start over. I want him to relax here and not try to force him into anything too quickly. I do not want to ram this down his throat. I'm going to do this on his schedule. So I go back at it. We just go slow and let him think about it and start dealing with it. Now you can see he's still really leaning back and he's not sure, but this time he's not pulling away and he's not dancing to the side. So we did that several times until he could get comfortable with it. Now, probably this entire drill, I probably worked on this with him maybe a little over a half hour in total. The video is about 10 minutes, but I actually probably worked with him about 30 minutes or so. So now I got him to where he can tolerate it touching his nose. So I'm going to move towards draping it over him by rubbing it down his neck. And at any point, if he starts to freak out a little bit, then we just back up and let him relax and go back to something that he can tolerate. And we just do that. And if we don't get all the way done today, then that's okay. We come back tomorrow and pick it back up. Now here, I've draped it over his neck. And interestingly, at this point, when you put it on their neck, most of them calm down. And you can see that he did that, right? I put it over his neck and he immediately relaxed. His head came down, his ears got relaxed, and he was really much more comfortable. Excuse me. So now I'm going to keep going. I want to, there's a friend sniffing the camera. And in fact, there's a whole bunch of friends behind the camera looking on in horror as we do this drill. And so I'm going to walk over here and shoo them away because they're about to knock over the camera, and that's really not part of my plan. But I walk over and let him walk with the tarp on him, and again, that helps desensitize him. Now, they didn't go very far. They're still standing back there looking on, talking to each other, going, man, I'm glad it's him and not me. All right, so now I'm going to drape it over his back, and typically by this time, they're pretty comfortable with the whole thing. If not, again, I have no problem resetting and going back to something he's comfortable with. But typically they do pretty good here. And I drape that over him and make him into a knight at King Arthur's court horse, getting ready for the joust. And I want to walk him around with that tarp on his back, helping him get used to dealing with the uncomfortable thing while he's moving his feet. So we'll ask him to walk around a little bit and get him comfortable with this. Now sometimes the tarp falls off here, and I personally am okay with that because it'll go under his feet and he has to be able to deal with that. We really want him to be able to deal with sticky situations around his feet when we're on his back, so that he can, he might be a little nervous, but he's not going to come unhinged. Hopefully. Okay, now we're getting to the meat. I want to start working in the saddle. And we go all the way back to the beginning. I'm just going to walk around the tarp. I'm going to point him away from the tarp when we stop and let him relax. Give him some strokes, a little love, and go back around. And I'm not going to immediately ask him to go over it. I don't want to ram this down his throat. That's counterproductive. So we just keep going around. Here you can see, and we did this a bunch of times, and here you can see I pointed him away again from the tarp. That's on purpose. And here in a second I'm going to spin him around and point him toward the tarp, and we're going to make our first attempt at going over. And once again we go over the short side. So we just do it exactly the same way we did it from the ground. And going over the short side, that just helps him be successful. So I'm asking him to approach it, and then I stopped here. He didn't stop, I stopped him. I wanted him to just think about it and relax, and then we went over it, and it went pretty smooth because of all the work that we did on the ground. And we did that a few times, and now we go over the long axis, and you can see he's perfectly relaxed now. He's perfectly willing to go over the tarp. His head's down, his ears are great. So again, I think this is a great exercise for you to do, or if you're not qualified, that your trainer does for you, because it's really going to make your horse ultimately a safer horse. So this is Cowboy Bob signing off.